This lecture is a short overview of Chapter 14, Filtering Grouped Data. We have one objective for this lesson. We want to know where to filter our data and understand that where we filter our data makes a difference. We will use the halving clause. After you group rows and calculate aggregate values, which is what we've done in the previous lesson, it is often useful to filter further the final result, which is what we will do in this lesson using the halving clause. The halving clause acts on rows after they have been grouped. Note that when you do not have a group by clause, then the halving clause operates on all the rows returned by the from and where clauses. This is the select statement syntax diagram that we have been working with all semester. What is new is the addition of the halving clause after the group by clause. Let's look at an example. The request is, show me the entertainer groups that play in a jazz style, here's one condition, and have more than 3 members, and this is a second condition. This is the data model of the 4 tables involved in this query. This is our select statement. Notice we have one aggregate in the select statement, which is count. We are selecting entertainer ID and entertainer stage name in addition to the count. Notice in the from clause, we have inner joins on the tables entertainers, entertainer members, entertainer styles, and musical styles, the 4 tables that we see in our data model. In the where clause, we have our condition, musical styles has to be jazz. In our group by clause, notice we have entertainer ID and entertainer stage name. These 2 columns are in the select clause with the aggregate. Keep in mind, as we learned in the previous lesson, when you have columns in the select clause in addition to an aggregate on a column, in the group by clause you must include all of the columns in the select clause that are not aggregated. And here is our new clause, having count of entertainer ID greater than 3. Using the having clause is new for us. We are applying it on the data that is grouped by in the previous clause. Again, recall any column you reference in a where clause must be a column in one of the tables defined in the from clause. Where you filter makes a difference. We have been filtering using the where clause. Now we are filtering using the having clause. Keep in mind that the search condition in the where clause filters the rows before your database system groups them. Looking at the syntax diagram, we see the where clause before the group by clause. Again, keep in mind that the condition in the where clause filters the rows before the database groups them. Here is another example. The request is, show me the states on the west coast of the United States where the total of the orders is greater than 1 million. So we know by the request for a total of the orders that we are going to use an aggregate function, and that function will be sum. This is our data model consisting of the 3 tables that we will use to satisfy this query. This is our select statement. Notice in the select clause we're selecting customer state. Notice in the group by clause we have customer state. Also notice in the select clause we are using the sum aggregate function, which will satisfy the condition where the total of the orders is greater than 1 million. Now, the sum will calculate the total, but the condition greater than 1 million we see in the having clause. Notice in the having clause, the entire calculation is listed, not the alias name. We want to avoid a common trap using having and count. This trap occurs when the count function is counting only the rows that are left in a table after filtering. There is a potential for zero rows to be lost because of the where clause. Let's take a look at an example that shows us how to get around this by using a subquery. The request is, show me the subject categories that have fewer than 3 full professors teaching the subject. This is our data model consisting of the 3 tables involved. This is our select statement. Notice the aggregate count in the select clause, in the field category description in the select clause, which is also in the group by clause. Now, notice we have a subquery in the from clause. We do not have a where clause, which helps us to avoid the trap. In the from clause, we are using a subquery to select the professors. And finally, after selecting our professors, we want a count less than 3 to meet the condition of the query. The subquery in the from clause filters for the professors. This way, the result set you use in the join is already filtered before you do the join, and that way we do not have a potential loss, which would happen or could happen if we had used a where clause instead of a subquery in the from clause. In closing, we looked at another way to apply a condition within a select statement by using the having clause, and we understand that there is a difference in the dataset result based on where we filter, in the where clause or in the having clause or both. And if we want to avoid the having count issue by losing potential data, we replace the where condition with a subquery. For this week, your assignments are the quiz on Chapter 14 and the Chapter 14 lab.